Welcome to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, the only podcast that helps insurance agencies grow their business while increasing their happiness and joy. I'm Eddie Price, founder of Jenesis Software and an agency owner for more than 30 years. I have started, bought, sold, and scaled agencies, and for the last 25 years, helped others do the same through Jenesis. On this show, you're going to hear real stories and proven strategies to help you streamline your operations, increase profits, and really enjoy the business that you've built. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do here at Jenesis Software, just visit genesissoftware.com, click on the orange button to request a demo. Hey, welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited for you to watch this. I just finished this conversation with Johnny Ellis. He was the very first Jenesis Now customer 13 years ago. And the conversation, I think, is going to be very helpful to most people. Johnny's going to talk about when he started his agency, how he almost quit, how a miracle happened, and he'll tell about that miracle. And then how he went from almost quitting his agency a year after he started it to now having 3 locations and prospering. He'll talk about how he grew those agencies, how he acquired those agencies, all about networking, about the value of charity and giving. So I think this is going to be time well spent. So I hope you'll watch this, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks. All right. I would like to welcome my guest today, Johnny Ellis. Welcome, Johnny, to my podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. You're welcome. This is the Insurance Agency's Success Podcast. So hopefully in our time together today, we will talk about some failures, which are part of leading to success, in my opinion. And we'll talk about some successes. We'll talk about our journeys. And hopefully what we talk about is going to be helpful to somebody out there. Let's get started by you telling me, because I don't know this, I don't think I know this story. I'd love to hear it. Tell me about you getting started in the insurance business and when that was and how you got started.
My first little dabble in the insurance business was, what year was that? 2001. I was a bread man running insane hours, probably 20 hours a day, that sort of thing. And the internet was starting to get up and running along then and kicking up pretty good. And my little brother, who's 14 years younger than me, said, "Why don't you put your resume online?" I'm like, "Online? What are you, dumb? I don't even know what that means." I said, "You know about me, so put it on, put what you think out there." Well, I got a call from a captive life agency, and they told me if I would work as hard at that as I did the bread route, I'd make more money and wouldn't hurt my back and my knees. So I'll give that a try. We talked about it. So I got licensed in 01, won the rookie incentive bonus, the spring fleeing bonus, all the bonuses, and just tearing it up. And then later I found out what captive really means. So that was some of that bought experience. It's very expensive, So I don't know how many have ever paid that sort of tax, but, it's something you never forget. So
I started as a captive. I was PNC, but I was with Farm Bureau more than a decade before you. In 89, right out of college, I started with Farm Bureau as a PNC agent. Not live though, so I don't know how much that difference is.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the same. They're your daddy contract, and you pay for everything, and they tell you everything to do.
Right. You're essentially an employee, but then they treat you like an employee where it makes sense to be an employee, and treat you like a contractor when it makes sense for them to treat you like a contractor.
Pretty much. And I went out of the business and back into trucking for a while because I know how to feed my family. I still have a CDL to this day, just because you never know. I've even gone and got some of my customers' trucks and carried home when the driver quit because I didn't want my customer to go to jail because they didn't have a CDL. That's service. And you got to do what, take care of them the best you can.
Yeah.
And then in 2007, 8, around there, I got my PNC license and went back full swing. It was a kind of one of those where if you ever seen God set up and by his grace, everything falls together and in line for you. That was the way it was, because I was over the road trucking or regional trucking and really had no time for family, no time for anything. Gone all the time. The 70 hours a week was just what you were working. That wasn't what you were gone from home and missing everything. So I was at the time having a call to preach too. So I'm praying, and God, I can't preach and be out here and have family, and there's just no way. I can't take the Bible trainings and learn to be anything other than just a piece of meat working for, pittance all the time. So things started opening up, doors started opening up. From what I understand, you don't just go and open your own scratch PNC agency and survive, especially in the worst economy ever built around February 2009, I opened up with 0 customers.
And that's with all that housing market stuff, all that bubble burst and everything was going on there.
Yeah, and God provided the whole time. He even set me down whenever I decided I was going to flee, because everything was looking good for me to get some Bible training and different stuff like that, but there wasn't enough money coming in. And I had folks that were helping me. My mom and dad told me they would back me to the bitter end if I wanted to do it, but I don't like taking money from people, never have, or loans or whatever it was. But I decided I was going to go back to trucking, because I basically called God out. I said, if you want to keep me here, you better hold me, because I'm fixing to go. I picked up the phone. I should have got a job with my experience and my clean CDL. I should have had a job within 20 minutes. I called for 2 days and couldn't get a job. So I'm like, okay, now what are we going to do? I got to eat. So prayed over it a while, and I got a call, and that customer, I worked on him about 2 days, and commission was $25,000. That was enough then to kind of bring me up to where I felt like I was going to survive.
What do you mean? You had already gotten your PNC license.
Mm-hmm. I was open, and I was sitting there. Yeah,
but not ready to quit.
I was starving to death.
Okay.
I was pulling every line of credit, everything that I had to keep the doors open. I had business coming in, but trying to establish from a 0 scratch book of business to get going.
Yeah.
I had done got to the point where I'm like, this just isn't working. I can't see where this is going to feed my family. I have to, we've got to eat. So I decided I was going to close up and go back into trucking, but I couldn't get a job.
And that $25,000 commission deal, that was a big commercial account?
That was a big commercial account. Okay. It was actually a trucking account that it was somebody that I had knew years ago called up and asked me, said, Johnny, can you do trucking insurance? I'm like, sure I can. Absolutely I can, because that's, I can do anything. I'm an independent. Nobody tells me what to do. If it's out there, I can find it as long as I can get a contract. And from there, it's been nothing but, growth and blessings. I got slapped down one time because I didn't give credit where credit was due. And folks telling me how good I was doing, patting me on the back. And I'm like, yeah, I am. And instead of saying, yeah, by the grace of God, here I go, and that sort of thing. And got slapped down pretty hard because of that one that I was counting on year after year. That big customer was gone, just like that. Take that out of your bottom line when you think you're expecting it.
Yeah. I've had that happen as well. Probably for the same reasons, by the way. So 2007 is when you got your PNC license. And when did this happen, when you were about to hang it up? And then
actually 2000, into 2008, and I opened in 2009 on the PNC. I was thinking I had done the agency, started it with a life agency in 2007, but didn't really go anywhere with it. So I'm just sometimes piecing it together.
So opened the agency in 2009. Mm-hmm. And then how long did you try it before you were starting to give up and then had the
it was about the little past a year in 2010, and it was probably about March or April in 2010. I was like, this isn't growing fast enough. I'm dying here.
Yeah.
So
and I think a lot of people today experience the same thing. And we see agencies that start one-person operation, because it was just you at the time, right?
Yes, sir.
And we're going to talk in a few minutes, and I want people watching this to stay tuned, because in a minute, that story changes a lot. These humble beginnings, you had the one miracle, I'll call it, in 2010, And now things are a lot different a few years later. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So you wrote that big account and you felt like that's a sign, that's God telling you that you should stay where you are. And you wrote the account, you got the money, and that was your life preserver for a bit.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
and then what? So then did you start writing more business in general? Kind of how did that go forward?
It was kind of odd because whenever I started, I only had two companies, and even before that, I had, I guess the miracle before that was I did not have Progressive, who I wrote that with the year before. Just a couple of months before this happened, the lady come walking into my office with a Progressive shirt on, and I'm smiling, thinking, "You're in the wrong place because y'all done told me no." And she came in and she said, "Wondered if you would like to sell Progressive." I'm like, "Well, y'all told me no." She said, "Well, I can fix that." I said, "Well, get the contract and let's make it happen." So that was one before everything was setting up to get ready for that. So it was just kind of interesting the way that things kept moving.
And how were you getting business then? How were you selling insurance?
Just word of mouth. Okay. And trying to do actually one of the early Facebook things. I was being told that Facebook, Alignable, LinkedIn, all these things were gonna do it, and it really didn't. I guess Rotary Club was one big helpful thing, and just reaching out to community and people that I know, and word of mouth. You start treating people right, and you tell your friends. It was almost using the 100 people thing that all the life agents use whenever they get started. I was reworking that. And who do you know and who do they know? And started working from there. Start working where your feet are and work out, and it'll grow exponentially.
So when did you hire your first team member?
Thinking that was about 2011, I think it was. And that was a real treat too. It seemed like everything in the world was fighting me on trying to figure out how to have an employee. It was one of those things where I didn't have the money to hire anybody to figure out how to do it, no payroll companies or anything. So I read Florida statutes till my eyes were about to bleed to try to figure out how to make things happen.
Yeah, I think when I started my agency in 91, I think it was 91 or 92, 91, I think, I probably ran it by myself for about a year, give or take. Sounds like that's about what you did. And then I hired my first team member. I don't even remember how I did payroll. I didn't use a payroll service. So maybe I figured it out. I don't know how I did all that. That's been a long time ago. So you hired the first person. Did that person stay with you a while?
About a year, I think. But it was one that was coming out of a closing Allstate business, and she was going to college, so she got too busy with college and didn't have time for it. So
yeah. Here's what I've seen in most every success story. You and I think we're similar in this. We're not here today to tell people, hey, we're successful, do what we did. We don't think of ourselves that way, but people are successful at different levels, and we have been successful in our journeys doing what we're trying to do. And I think just like you and I can learn from so many people can learn from us as well. The thing that I've seen to be true about so many success stories is that it seems like almost all of them was never where they started here and success was like that. It seems like every story I hear of someone who's successful, it's a little bit like this. And sometimes they start here and it's down. And it's the people who stick around. And for you, you almost gave up. You prayed about it because of your faith. And then that led you and kind of convinced you and convicted you to hang on. But don't you think that's a big deal, that success is almost always contingent on your ability to be patient? And
I seen something the other day that kind of hit me on that. It said, I failed more times than you tried. That's why I'm successful.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Well, you've heard the stories about Michael Jordan and all these other people, and Babe Ruth or whatever. Maybe have hit the most set records for hitting the most home runs at the time, but also had the record for the most strikeouts at bat. But I think when I hear what you've talked about, and I didn't have exactly what you did. Everybody's journey is a little different. But I would say that someone's listening to this. A couple of the things that we've already identified being similar. You and I ran our own operation for about a year. You kind of got to do that. Most of us that started independent insurance agency from scratch, like I did and you did, you're going to run it for a little bit by yourself. You can't quickly jump into the CEO chair. You're sweeping the floor and everything for a while. And then you hire someone. The other takeaway I'm hearing here that I think is encouraging for people. You almost quit. You decided to keep going. You went another year. You built up enough, I'm assuming, to need and be able to afford to hire somebody. If you're like me, you needed them and you could barely afford them. That's the way I was. But I hired somebody, and I think my person, I don't remember, Johnny, they lasted a year, or I don't remember, a year or two. It wasn't long. It's kind of like you were saying. But I think that's good for people to hear because you can get beat down by life. So you struggle in the agency, you almost quit, you keep going, you hire somebody, things are going pretty good. Maybe a year later, they leave. Now you're like, oh my heavens, now I'm starting back over with this. But I think that's normal. That's part of success not being a straight linear path. It's weaving up and down a little bit. But okay, so you hired the person, they stayed a year, then you replaced them when that person left?
Eventually, I was determined to do it myself for a while, decided I didn't want to put up with anybody. But
I've heard that too. I've heard a lot of people say people are the worst. Managing people is hard. And the other thing that I think is you and I have been doing this a long time now. I believe that we, not because we're smart now, but we've made a lot of mistakes. We've made all those mistakes over the years. So I think we're a little better now at hiring and training and treating our team members differently than we probably did 20 and 30 years ago. So you eventually replaced that person. And at this point, you had one location. When was the point when you added how many locations do you have now, first of all?
3.
Okay. When did you add your second location?
It was 2017.
Okay. So,
and I had hired one that was pretty good. She had came from a agency in what I considered the big town of Panama City, which I've actually got an agency in now. And she wanted to be closer to home. And she was fully licensed and trained. And all I had to do was a little directing of this is the way we do it here. And here's the markets we have here. And she was pretty self-check. So between the two of us, we had that little office and the word of mouth and the networking that I had done. That little office was rocking and doing pretty good. And we had so much business coming from the next town and county over until I decided I would go and open a satellite office up there just to make a presence and leave her there at the original office and make it grow that way. And I did that. And while I was there, I was taking enough business from one and they had a little trouble. And I was able to, by 2018, I think it was, I was able to buy out a much bigger agency and absorb them into mine. And from there, it's just, by putting my processes in and just hired 2 more people for the office up there and really got going.
Let's talk about that a second. I like all that. And our paths are a lot of similarity. I have started 2 agencies and bought 3 or 4, something like that. And I bought 2 or 3. I think I bought 3 that I could merge into into my location. And that's gold. When you can buy an agency down the street, you're eliminating a competition, some competition. And when you pay them, whatever you pay them to buy that agency, and now You send the email, the letters out, and now these customers are coming over here to you. You don't have to pay all that overhead. You might keep some of their staff, or what you did. I've done it both ways where I needed some of the team and I kept them. But that's very profitable. You know what I mean? Versus buying an agency, and I've done this too, in another town where you have to keep all the overhead. When you buy that agency that you don't have to keep all of their overhead, you pull it under your roof, that's very profitable, don't you think?
Yeah, and what was really, really sweet, they had a management system that they were paying a whole lot more for than what I was paying with my beautiful Jenesis. And it was not nearly as good a system as Jenesis. So I eliminated that big bill right to start with. And they had high rent and where I had mine. So, a lot of what was killing them. And between all of that and one employee, it was just all pure profit to me, to be able to pay for it once I was able to funding can be a real challenge too with a fairly new agency like that, but there's ways to get that done as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a second, because I think that could be interesting to people. And I'll be transparent and tell you my stories real quick, and you can share what you want to about yours. Because I think people that have never acquired an agency could benefit from hearing about this. I believe every agency I bought, well, at the time, I think there was one that my dad, because I was mid to late 20s, so I didn't have any money. And I think my dad on one loaned me the money, and I paid him back over 24 or 36 months. So I was able to pay for that agency in 24 to 36 months out of its own profit. So it didn't really come out of, I got all my money back in 24 to 36 months. The other 3 or 4 that I bought, I think in every case, I had enough money to give them a down payment, and the agency seller, the owner, financed the balance. And in every case, I did it in 24 or 36 months. I don't think I ever did a deal that took me longer than 36 months. And I never did a deal that it wouldn't pay for itself. So I'm making up a number, but if my payment was $1,000 a month for 3 years, then I made sure that when I was buying them, their commission and income minus whatever I knew the expenses were going to be, whether it was its own location or moving it into mine, I would at least have that $1,000 a month, to make it so I'm not coming out of my pocket or out of the profitability of my other agency. The last thing I'll say is I think the agencies I bought, and this has been a while, I gave anywhere from 1 times annual income, annual commission, annual revenue, whatever you want to call it. And I've given as much as 1.5. I know people that have paid 2 times, and I don't know what they're selling for today. How was your experience different than what I just described?
Very similar on the first one the first small book that I acquired was from a closing Allstate. I bought what they called their broker book of homeowners. And, other than that, I would about gotten out of homeowners at one time, because anybody that's ever written homeowners, if you're doing the whole thing, it just takes up too much of your time. It's, you almost say the juice ain't worth the squeeze. But once you get employees and things going and wanting to round your book to where you can keep and take good care of your customers, it's something you have to actually do. And lady financed that for me, and it paid for itself over a period of time. And I think it was she kind of wanted me to have it because we had met and she liked the way I did business. So I think it was 1.5 times that I paid her for it. And then the next one, I think it was like 1 times because the lady was in trouble. I didn't know it at the time, but the IRS was riding her back pretty hard. So I got, and I actually went to a loan shark. I went to Oak Street Funding and got that one. And that was kind of a blessing and a curse all at the same time. But if you're gonna grow, sometimes you have to dance to the music that's playing. And that's with that one. But the next one I think was 2.5 times because there was no PIP PD. It was a really clean book. And the owner financed it with a down payment and payment over 7 years. But with that one, I had property coming in with it, and I had the book coming in with it, and there was just so much coming in with it until, that 2.5, 3 years thing just wasn't no way that would ever work with everything that was going on and all the moving parts of it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would encourage people. I think every agency owner, I think this of you too. I think every agency owner, there's no downside to making sure that all their company reps know that if they hear of an opportunity in your area, especially, or in an area that makes sense for you, to let you know, or tell the other agency owner, hey, Johnny might be interested in talking to you, because you can always say no. And I'm a big believer in making it clear to people that I'm interested in talking to you about that. And rather than not doing that and never having the opportunity, I'd rather know. And like I said, if it's not a good opportunity, you just don't execute, but I don't think people should worry too much about, well, that's not the right time for me, or I'm not ready, or whatever. I think every agency owner, all of their company reps should know, because they're out there talking to you and the guy down the street, So,
yeah, and I need to clear up one thing too. I think I said 2017 whenever I bought the second book.
Yeah.
And that was 2015. So
Okay.
It's 2017 whenever I bought the Panama location.
Okay. So the third location.
Okay. Yeah, it's 2017 when I bought it. So it just, there's about 1,000 thoughts going through my head at one time, and which one falls out my mouth might be wrong sometimes. So.
But I think people should let their reps know, because you never know what great opportunity might present itself. Here at Jenesis, we've done a few acquisitions over the last 5 years of businesses that made sense to come under the Jenesis. And we're looking at one right now that we're in an NDA for. We can't talk about it. And this was a referral to me by somebody that is has a relationship with me and the other company. So I think agencies that are wanting to grow should definitely let the reps know that. And I don't think there's any harm. I also was pretty active with any agency communities going on. Like, I knew the agents in my town, and I think that can be healthy if it's possible. I think I knew just about every agent in my town. So when they would start thinking about selling, either because it wasn't growing as well as they'd thought, or it was time to retire, because I've experienced both of those. I think you just need to keep open mind to that possibility through acquisitions. All right. So you add the second one in 2015. You started in 2010, really added the second one in, started in 29, had the miracle that kept you in business in 2010. 2015, acquired another location. In 2017, were both of those acquisitions?
Yeah, 15 and 17 were both acquisitions. I actually moved and I was opening a scratch book in the town where a lot of my business was coming from, driving 15 miles to do business with me. So I just opened up an office in that town, a little satellite office, to see how it worked.
Yeah.
And it worked very well.
Yeah.
And after that, like I said, the one agent that was kind of across the street from me where I opened up at, she called me and asked me would I be interested in buying a homeowner's book, because she was just trying to figure out how to get past the pinch that she was in. I told her, no, ma'am, but if you decide you want to sell the whole thing, let me know, and we'll work something out. Yeah. So within a couple of months, I think the creditors were hot enough on her that she called me back and told me what she would take for it. And I said, well, let's see if we can find a way to fund it. So.
Okay. Oh, that's fun. That's really cool stuff. What is so far, you went through that really tough time in 2010. What do you find to be some of the hardest pieces now of running 3 insurance agencies, 3 locations?
Making sure that I don't keep my thumb on everybody, making sure when I'll find something that's not my way, make sure that I respond instead of react, with employees or whatever, whenever situations come up. And, you're going to have personality conflicts between employees. You're going to have customers come in that are, have lost their mind, and they're sure that you're a thief, even though there's always an explanation for whatever happened. Either usually it's because they misread their bank statement, or something like that. But I guess the biggest challenge is just keeping everybody happy. everybody working and everybody satisfied. I want to keep the customer satisfied that they're getting the best that we can give them, the best service that we can give them, so that they'll tell their friends and their family.
Okay. What do you think has been the biggest factor in your growth, to go from struggling in 2010 to almost giving up to now 3 locations?
The top thing is giving praise, honor, and glory to God.
Okay.
And then keep and having the confidence now, with that being said, to network. Like I said, I had done Rotary. I'm a member of 4 chambers of commerce. I'm an ambassador to 2. So those things, networking anything that you can network, and just talking where your feet are. If you give a big tip whenever you're out eating, give your card to go along with it.
That's smart.
Just say, I did business with you. Come do business with me. You treated me great. Let me treat you great.
Right. I want to talk about this for a second, if you don't mind talking about this.
I don't mind. And another thing that I did is charitable organizations. If you go and you put money in charitable organizations, and you show up and you help and you volunteer in charitable organizations like the ARC people, and they're in every town, and they need help. Women's shelters, they need help, and money, and anything where they're raising money for these in the habitats. If your logo and your name's on these things, and people see you have a charitable heart, and you're helping and uplifting people, then they believe you more when you say, I'm here to help you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're putting your money where your mouth is, I guess. You're not just talking. Yeah. You and I almost partnered. It seems like them, right? Because I think you might have talked to Misty or somebody. We have a care team at Jenesis that's their mission is that kind of thing. So at Christmas time, at Thanksgiving and at Christmas week, we gave like $10,000, I think. And we did it as a batch. So I think you had talked to, I don't think we did anything that time, but I'm sure we will in the future. But isn't that right? Didn't you see that come out from us and maybe talk to me?
Seemed like I saw it, but I've got a bad case of squirrel brain sometimes too. And it's, on that wheel, and some of it falls off. So
yeah, I love the charity stuff. What I was going to ask you is, because I think this could be interesting. So you started using Jenesis about what year?
I don't know. When was your first? I was your first online customer. So what year was that?
So we started. Jenesis has had Jenesis Classic, and then we own Agency Advantage. Those 2 products have been around now. Jenesis for a little less than 30 years. Agency Advantage a little more than 30.
So your first Jenesis Now was me.
Yeah, the first Jenesis Now was you, and we started building it, I think, in 2013, so 13 years ago. And it was a couple of years, maybe a year or 2 before it was ready enough, to somebody to use. So I'm guessing it was, give or take, 2015. You think that's right?
Mm-hmm. That's about right. That's whenever I started. Are you sure I wasn't using it in the beta before you released it to anybody else?
I know you were number 1. I mean, you were the first person to ever use it. I don't know if the second person was a few weeks or months or a year after you. I don't remember that. We've got all that information, but you were the first person to use Jenesis Now. And it's interesting. I think I shared this with you recently. The first agency to ever use Jenesis Classic, the product that I created first in the late 90s, the first person to ever use it, they started using it in the fall of 1998. So 28 years ago, and they're still using it today. They have 3 locations too, just like you. So that's a blessing, man. My very first customer on Jenesis Classic is still a relationship, and you're the very first customer on Jenesis Now. We still have the relationship. That means a lot to me. But so you started that in 2014 or 15 or something, over 10 years ago, 11 or 12 years ago. But there was a period of time that you left and went to another system and then came back, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that was one of those big mistakes type of things. I never completely shut y'all down because I was never sold out because they were such good salespeople. They were telling me how great everything was going to integrate between the Raider and this and that, and it's all going to be, candy and rainbows, and everybody's going to. And all the automations, everything's going to be so simple. You can run it from your toilet with your phone. Basically, is what almost like they were telling it.
So that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, why did you leave and why did you come back? And it sounds like you left because you believed that what they were telling you was going to be better than it ended up being. Is that right?
The integration just wasn't there. I mean, it was a blatant lie what they were telling, and they were bought out by a better company, and they were such good sales until they convinced the other company to use their crap software instead of using the better software. It's the most ridiculous thing because I watched this stuff,
right?
And I don't know why it is that people will be sold better than they will look at the reality of something. And especially, I guess, and I don't want to throw off on college people, but those that with the college degrees in management that never really ran the systems or listened to their analytics or whatever they want to call it, and just totally wrong. One's they buy the baloney. See,
yeah. Well, and I think that's an important piece of this too. Is at Jenesis, I was an agent before I created Jenesis. I think that's helped. And then we do this thing, Johnny, where when we make a new sale, and like yesterday, there were four new people came on board yesterday with Jenesis that were sold, probably last week or something. And we don't usually do 4 in a day. That's a pretty good day. We do 4, but we had 4 yesterday. And what we try to do is the salesperson we have an onboarding meeting. The salesperson that sold the system is on the meeting, and the trainer that's going to be training this agency is on the meeting. And then we try to get the manager of our development team, the manager of our support department, and either me and or Lisa on the call. And we love doing them. And if sometimes scheduling doesn't allow for that, but we absolutely love it. And it's fun because this week, I know yesterday specifically, in all 4 of those meetings, I was able to tell the brand new customer not only how much we appreciated them and how we're going to work hard to make them successful, but I was able to say the person who sold you the software, whether that was Jenna, whether that was Joe, whether that was Christy, who have been with us, all 3 of those people have been with us for many years. All 3 of them have been agents before they did or doing what they do now. And I think that matters. And then I'm able to tell those people on that call, your trainer, whether it's Allie, whether it's Terry, now not their manager, Lisa, but the other 2 that are trainers face-to-face with the customer, they both were agents before they did the role they're doing now as a software trainer. And I think that matters, because they've kind of walked in the same shoes, and it's different than you take somebody that's just a software person to try to train or try to sell. I think you miss something,
Oh yeah. And you had me and my staff hunting bugs in this thing for several years.
Yeah. Well, all the bugs never go away.
There's always going to be bugs. That's why we have the offices sprayed every month, because there's always going to be bugs trying to slip in somewhere.
That's right. If you were giving advice to someone to kind of, they're starting an agency and they say, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to be successful? Any thoughts come to mind about what you would share with them if they're starting their first agency, or they're just a small agency? They're not 3 locations yet. They want to be there. Any advice other than what we've shared so far?
I would say, first of all, you're going to have to pray a lot, because if you don't pray now, you will whenever it starts hitting you. And the other thing is, always, no matter how hard it is, do the right thing for the customer. Don't sell. If somebody keeps coming to you telling you, this is how you sell, this is how you sell, this is how you sell, stop it. Do what's right for the customer every time. Always find them the best quality for the premium that you can get, rather than I've had XYZ company come to me and tell me, well, you can sell this product. It's a little bit more than your other products, but if you tell them this and tell them that and see, we'll give you more commission. Don't sell out your customer to try to make more money. And that's going to carry you further, because even on the odd times that I had to tell people, look, you've got a better deal than what I can give you. So your best to stay with what you've got. That act alone, they told their family. This guy will check it out and he'll tell you the truth. So more came in that I could actually help by telling the one, you've got a better deal than I can give you because you've been with this company so long and they're already set up and things have changed. So you need to keep this policy. So by being 100% honest every time, it's gonna carry you through, and your reputation will go a lot further than you ever will.
Well said. I remember when I was in my very first location, started my agency, and I think I was still by myself. I may have already hired somebody at that time. I can't remember for sure. But I remember, and this was in the days when we were handwriting receipts. We didn't have a computer to generate the receipt. And this was in the day when you were mailing applications and mailing things into the carrier. And I remember I would have a customer occasionally say, could you backdate this to yesterday so I don't have a lapse in coverage? I didn't have an accident, I promise. Can you backdate it today so I don't have a lapse in coverage? And I remember having to process that and think, okay, I'm not really hurting anybody. But I remember after I processed it, and I don't remember, Johnny, if this took me minutes, hours, days, weeks, I really don't remember how long to come to this conclusion. But I finally got to the point where I said, but it's not right. And so my little spiel that I come up with was I would tell the customer, I really sympathize with your situation, but I just have this core value that says I'm not going to lie to anyone about anything. I'm not going to cheat on my taxes, and I'm not going to lie to an insurance company. But the good news for you, Mr. Customer, is with me being that way, I'll never lie to you. I'll never steer you wrong. But I'm not willing and able to do this for you now. And it worked most of the time. Sometimes people felt like I was crazy, but
if they threw their toys and leave, they were probably better that they did. Because I've told several, I won't lie to you nor for you.
Yeah.
I even thought I might go back to the one life company for a little while, but as what things were changing around. And the one told me, said, well, in order to get you back on, I would have to lie to my supervisor. And then he would ask you, and you won't lie for yourself. So I know you won't lie for me. So it's a no-go. So having that, keeping that reputation is worth a lot. And if you won't lie, you probably won't steal. So, once you get that together and you do the right thing every time, and whenever times were hard, there was a few times that money came back in that belonged to a customer that they'd forgot about, didn't know about on a policy that had been, takes a long time to process and come back. Could have kept it easy, but what would that have done for me? You don't do that. So like I said, just keep doing the right thing and it'll come back to you. It's kind of like doing the wrong thing will come back to you. If you go to stealing, guess what? You're going to bleed out.
100%. Is there anything else as we wind down that we've not touched on that you think might be useful for you and I to talk about that people might benefit from?
I think we've come kind of full circle of the way things are. Just if your mindset is to help people rather than to sell people, make sure that you're going to give them the best value that you can. As I've told a lot of people that were fussing about premium or whatever, and I tell them, look, some of these will save you a few bucks on your premium, but you're going out of their office with a hole this big in the seat of your pants, and they're telling you you're covered. And I'm never going to do that for you. I don't know you well enough to lie to you, so I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah, agreed. Hey, you've talked several times about Christianity and God and so on. And I don't know if we've ever talked about this or not, but are you familiar with the organization C12?
I am. And so far it's been above my pay grade. I would love to be a part of it, but it's just, not something that I've been able to budget the time and the and the money for. I actually went to a meeting and really enjoyed it. I mean, it just seems like a great thing to me. But
yeah, I've been a member for about 3 years, and 3 years coming up, I think, in May, and I've loved it. So I knew with your faith where it is that you would be a great fit for C12 because and actually. One of the podcasts that we had done a few months ago was me interviewing my chair, my guy who runs my group. And you may want to check that interview out. But at some point, reconsider it.
If we can get a scholarship for poor folks.
Yeah. What do you remember costing? Do you remember? I think mine's $1,000 a month. Is it maybe different for different areas?
Yeah, I thought it was more than that. It's been probably 5 years ago since I went to the meeting. And that might would fit more in now than it would have then.
Yeah, I get that.
It's and the thing too with mine, you're talking about the up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
About the time I really started growing, I don't know if you heard, we had Hurricane Michael come through in 2018. In 2017, I was growing like gangbusters.
Yeah,
I had it going on. 2018 in October, Hurricane Michael came through. And fire destroyed my Panama location. There was trees on my Mariana location that I wound up cutting out with a chainsaw myself. And my other location had the front end bashed out of it from 2x6s from the school across the street, roof blowed off. So that was fun time to recover from. And going from that, I lost a few by having to be in a camper for about a year.
Your agency,
my office was a camper for the Panama City location. So that was kind of hard. Yeah. And then I got up and running, new building, everything going, and then COVID attacked. So I'm thinking 26 is going to be the year of great things. So we'll see what happens.
Well, so far so good. It's been a pretty decent year so far. 27 days into it. And you got good news today about a new carrier that you got an appointment with. So that's always a great thing. If folks, Johnny, would be interested in reaching out to you to ask you a question or something, would that be okay?
Oh, yeah.
And if they were to do that, is an email the best way? And if so, what's that email address?
They can email Johnny@ellisagency.net. That's JOHNNY.
Okay, ellisagency.net. Okay, we'll pop that up on the screen.
And for those that have Yankee ear, it's not LS like an LS swap Chevrolet. It is Ellis, Echo, Larry, Iguana, Sam, ellisagency.net. So, I'm sure you folks all over the country, but some of them, if they've got what I call Yankee ear, they think it's LS like LS swap, with the
right.
So that's just not it.
Not it. I'm with you. Okay. Well, I appreciate you as a customer and as a friend, and I respect and admire your faith and the way you run your business. And it's a blessing and an honor to have you as a customer. And it's just cool that you're our very first Jenesis Now customer over 10 years ago. So that's a big deal to us. We appreciate it.
And since you got probably more folks to listen here than what I have, if anybody wants to go, it wonders what I believe or how I believe it, they can hunt up my YouTube channel. And there's sermons on there from years and years back, and some of the new ones I was putting them on Facebook, and I lost, many of them whenever they did that changeover and deleted everything. But I'm not, I don't really got a link or whatever, but if anybody wanted it, I could send it to them if they wanted to subscribe to that, or if they wanted to stalk me and see what I believe. So,
so they could email you and ask you for that, or they could, if they were to try to hunt you down on YouTube, would that be Johnny Ellis, Jonathan Ellis?
Johnny Ellis and Alford Church, I think is the way that if they search that, I think they'll find it. Johnny Ellis Alford, JALFORD Church, because that's the little church that I was, at whenever I started it. So,
okay, cool. Well, I appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great rest of your day, Johnny.
All right, you too. Bye now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, where independent insurance agencies like you get the tools and insights to grow, streamline, and enjoy your business. And if you're ready to simplify and scale, visit genesissoftware.com, Genesis with a J, and click on the orange button to request a demo. I appreciate you being here. Keep growing, keep building, and I'll see you next time.